All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We are back, continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week we'll be looking at Genesis chapter 19, Bereshit 19. This portion is called Two Angels Came. Two angels came. We'll be looking at the actions and the rescue of Lot. Discuss some of the things that we find within the scriptures. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. Let me pull up the chapter here. We'll read through the chapter and we will go back and discuss. Let me go ahead and put that up here so that we can see it on the screen. Go ahead and read nice and loud. Starting with the first verse there. Go ahead and read that nice and loud.
And it says, "And the two messengers came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, 'Look, please, my masters, please turn into your servant's house and spend the night, and wash your feet and rise early and go your way.' And they said, 'No, but let us spend the night in the open square.' But he urged them strongly, and they turned into him and came into his house. And he made them a feast, and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every part, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, 'Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, and let us know them.' So Lot went out to them through the doorway and shut the door behind them and said, 'Please, my brothers, do not do evil. Look, please, I have two daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you wish. Only do no deed to these men, because they have come under the shadow of my roof.' But they said, 'Stand back.' And they said, 'This one came in to sojourn, and should he always judge? Now we are going to treat you worse than them.' So they pressed hard against the man Lot and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, and they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said to Lot, 'Have you anyone else here, a son-in-law, and your sons and your daughters, and whomever you have in the city? Bring them out of this place. For we are going to destroy this place, because the cry against them has grown great before the face of Yahweh, and Yahweh has sent us to destroy it.' And Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who had married his daughters, and said, 'Get up, get out of this place, for Yahweh is going to destroy this city.' But to his sons-in-law he seemed to be as one joking. And when morning dawned, the messengers urged Lot to hurry, saying, 'Get up, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city.' And while he loitered, the men took hold of his hand and his wife's hands, and the hands of his two daughters. And Yahweh having compassion on him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. And it came to be, when they had brought them outside, that he said, 'Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed.' And Lot said to them, 'Oh no, Yahweh. Look, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have increased your loving commitment, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I am unable to escape to the mountains. lest calamity overtake me and I die. Look, please, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please let me escape there. Is it not a small matter? And let my life be saved. And he said to him, Look, I have favored you concerning this matter also, without overthrowing the city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I am not able to do any deed until you arrive there. So the name of city was called Zoar. The sun had risen up upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar, and Yahweh rained sulfur and fire on Sodom and Amorah, and Yahweh from Yahweh out of the heavens. So he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the city and what grew on the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a post of salt. And Abraham arose early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. And he looked toward Sodom and Amorah and toward all the land of the plain. And he looked and saw the smoke of the land which went up like the smoke of a furnace. Thus it came to be, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar, and he and his 2 daughters dwelt in a cave. And the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come in to us, as is the way of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine and lie with him, so that we preserve the seed of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he was not aware of it when she lay down and when she arose. And it came to be on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, See, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight as well, and you go in and lie with him, so that we keep the seed of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night as well, and the younger arose and lay with him. And he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. And the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the children of Ammon to this day.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Let's go back. Let's go back and look at a few things we have here. Going back to the top here. Looking at the first verse, we see that, remember from last week, from the 18th chapter, we see that these 3 visitors came to Abraham. The Most High, they're visiting along with these 2 messengers. We know that Abraham understood one of these messengers to actually be the Almighty speaking with him. And when we get to the end of the chapter, we see that 2 of the 3 were going to judge Sodom. And so over here, we see they arrive at the gate of Sodom, and they find sitting there Lot. And so I was just kind of wondering, when we look over here, it seems as if Lot must hold some type of position. Either he holds a type of position, or he kind of positioned himself in a place that is, near the entrance of this place. when we look and see what he does, he wants to have the people come in and spend the night and then go away. Like he's not like a welcoming committee, welcoming the people into the place. He says down in verse 2, spend the night, wash your feet, get up early, and get up out of here. So I wanted to look at a couple things over here. We see that, the way that it is written in verse 1, where it says that Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. Let's look over at Deuteronomy 21. We want to think about the idea of Lot, holding a position in this place where he was. Deuteronomy 21. Read for us verse 19. Let's go up 18 and 19.
When a man has a wayward and rebellious son, who is not listening to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and who, when they have disciplined him, does not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of his city, to the gates of his city.
Okay, so we see over here this, at least here, we see that when there is an issue, that, what they did with, in this particular case, with the rebellious son was take him before the elders in the city to the gate of his city, as if to say that the elders were at the gate. I don't know if this is two different things that's going on. Take them to the elders of the city, and then you take them to the gate of the city, or you take them to the gate of the city. That's where the elders are. Seems to be the latter. Let's look down. Let's look over at. Let's actually look at 22. 22. Let's see. 15. Wait a second. Let's go up. We want to look at 15. Let's get the context. Start at 13.
When any man takes a wife and shall go into her, and shall hate her, and shall make abusive charges against her, and bring an evil name on her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I did not find her a maiden. Then the father and the mother of the young woman shall take and bring out the proof of the girl's maidenhood to the elders of the city at the gate.
Okay, so the elders of the city are at the gate. That's where they're at. They're over there. And so you have this thing where, it's kind of this place, it seems, a position in the city, at the gate where the elders are, where judgment happens. And so, again, we think about Lot, this is where he was. He's at the gate. And so it seems, just without saying, it seems that there is a type of position that he is holding over here. Let's see what
I
this.
have something.
Go ahead.
Yep. I was just about to say that too.
Let's see. Let's see what this verse is here. 31, 23. Go ahead, read that for that. Oh, yeah, read 23 there. What's that say?
23 says, her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land.
Very good. So we see this again, we see this in multiple places throughout scriptures. We see it in the law. We see it in Proverbs, this idea of elders of the land and them being in the gates. I don't even know if there actually are gates, but it's like it could be a physical gate there, or it's kind of euphemistically speaking as if these men are kind of the gateway,
Gatekeeper.
gatekeeper, of these places. When things happen, they know about it.
They know who came in.
They
Who
know
went
who's
out.
coming. They know the comings and the goings, the ins and outs of the place, whether it be literal or euphemistically speaking. And again, it just seems as if when we look at Lot, he's there, right? He's at this place. Lot, according to, and when we look at Lot, especially here, there's some things that we'll see. But when we look at Lot, it's almost as if we're forced to look at Lot in a particular light because of the fact that when we look in Second Peter, Peter, we think about Peter, he's in the inner circle connected to Yeshua. And so, Peter, the things that he says, they seem weighty because, he was Yeshua's guy. That was his guy. So the things that he says, me anyway, when I think about the things that he says, it's, I feel like he knows what he is speaking about. I'm gonna look over in 2 Peter 2. 2 Peter, at the wrong chapter. 2 Peter 2. Read for us 6. Hold on. Yeah, just read 6 through 9. Talking about Lot. Lot, who sat as an elder in the gates at Sodom. We know about Sodom, but what's the scripture talk to us in regards to Lot? What's it say over there?
And having reduced to ashes the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, condemned them to destruction, having made them an example to those who afterward would live wickedly, and rescued righteous Lot, who was oppressed with the indecent behavior of the lawless. For day after day, that righteous man, dwelling among them, tortured his righteous being by seeing and hearing their lawless words. Then Yahweh knows how to rescue the reverent ones from trial, and to keep the unrighteous unto the day of judgment, to be punished.
Okay, so this talks about Lot. First of all, it says that righteous, calls him righteous Lot. It's almost like putting this kind of adjective with who he is. It's describing the man. The rescue wasn't just like they rescued Lot, but they rescued righteous Lot. And it goes on to say that he was dwelling among these wicked people, tortured. It tortures it, and then it doubles down on the adjective. He was tortured. His righteous soul was being tortured by seeing and hearing the things that was going on in this place. Was he a prisoner though? Like he could have left. You would think he could have left. You think about torture and oppressed. He was oppressed, it says, with this indecent behavior of the lawless. For him to see the level of wickedness and lawlessness that was going on over there, that word there, it says it there, athesmos, which means lawless, those who break through the restraint of the law and gratifies his lusts. That's what that word means. The one who breaks through the restraint of law and gratifies his lust. Those who look and see what the restraints are and say to themselves, I don't want those restraints. You can't stop me. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. This is what these people were doing. And it talks about Lot as being oppressed by the behavior of those that were acting in this way. Was he held captive?
Or maybe their response to how his righteousness was constantly an oppression to him. You know, you see how they's like, how you gonna come in here as a sojourner and now you a judge over us?
Yeah, in
like,
verse 9. Yeah.
The nerve of you. So I said they didn't like his position or his position of righteousness or position of thought.
People look at verse 9 and say that he wasn't actually in a position of power because of what they let me go back over to it, because of what they say over in Genesis 19 and verse 9. You know, what the people say. You know, who are you, a foreigner, a stranger, to come up here and think that you are supposed to be a judge? But I think that I'm saying someone could make the argument that they are saying that he wasn't in position, or you could just, you know, people, you know, these are things that people do. He could be in a position and yet still face resistance from the locals, respecting his established position. I think you could look at it both ways. It just seems that the way that is written, that he is there, and these contrarians, these lawless ones, you know, they push against restrictions as it is. And so Lot, being this righteous Lot who Second Peter speaks of, yes, you know, could very well, you know, you deal with, you know, trying to live, not only trying to live in righteousness, but being a propagator of righteousness, and there being so much resistance to your right can bring about a type of oppression, like a weight, like you're doing all of this work and you're not moving anywhere. if you're pushing against a heavy thing, it's laborious, right? And so the heavy thing that he's pushing against is wickedness. There's wickedness all around him. You know, that work, that weight, that resistance, you know, can be oppressive. So, you know, you absolutely can look at it in that regard, in terms of it being not that he's trapped there, but there's a weight, there's a heaviness that exists because Lot has an agenda, righteousness. He's righteous Lot. He is righteous Lot. That's what he's called. But he is surrounded. He's surrounded by wickedness.
Yeah, I think what Matthew 5 says, those who have that righteousness, they will mourn. That mourning of righteousness can be oppressive, and at the same time, if you take a righteous position, whether you are sitting in the gates or not, if you take a righteous position in a place of wickedness, that anointing automatically puts you in a place of judgment.
Yeah.
Because you are given the Torah, and that automatically puts you in a position of authority. Whether they like it or not, they recognize it in their spirit, like, okay, you know, you may not be officially in the gates, or you may be in the gates, whatever the case, they recognize his spiritual authority.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
maybe Lot wasn't so righteous, like righteous, like Torah observant, like this great righteous dude. But maybe in the environment of his wickedness, he was
Relative
considered
righteous.
right. It was relative righteousness, exactly, compared to what he was around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you look, let's look at the words that are chosen over here. If we can just let's see, pull this up. Yeah, because I think about that often, the idea of this relative righteousness. I thought about that when you think about Noah.
I thought about that.
Because Noah, he was called righteous in his days. You could look at that and say, well, if he's called righteous in his days was pretty bad.
Right. He could have been a bum on the street. He was a drunk.
He might have been here.
Just
everybody else was down here, and then like actual righteousness could be like way up here. But in his day, he's above them.
Right.
And so is that what it is dealing with? When you look at that word there, let's see here.
We actually just did a study about that relative righteousness this week. It's interesting.
Let's see, verse 7 here. KJV calls him just, which is equitable in character or act, by implication, innocent, holy, just, meet, right, or righteous. Let's see, what is this? Theirs. Let's see if I can get theirs on here. Oh, it's right here. Righteous, observing divine laws. In a wise sense, upright, righteous, virtuous, keeping the commandments of Elohim. And so when we think about righteousness, what we think of when we think of righteousness is those things which are connected with the character of the Most High. For us, dealing with the Torah, our righteousness, the standard of righteousness, is exemplified to us through the Torah, through the words of the Most High. And so, and through the Torah, we're able to see what the character of the Most High is and manifest his character when we walk these things out. Lot didn't have the Torah. He didn't have the codified law of Torah. He had a type of righteousness that he would have learned from Abraham, which wouldn't have been exactly like what we know of as Torah. Generally speaking, yes, the character of the Most High doesn't change, but we know that there were things that were right pre-codified Torah that were wrong, when Torah came down. And so we know that the Torah as we know it wasn't the same exactly as before. But I think what we can say, because we don't know what that says. We don't know what righteousness is. It's abstract, really.
What's
at this point
of a Torah pre-codified that became wrong codified?
Well, we look at the first thing I think about is Jacob had two sisters as wives. Two sisters. That's illegal in the Torah. But when he did it, it wasn't. There's no speak of him operating in wickedness by receiving Leah and then wanting the sister and having her. But when we get to the codified Torah that comes down through Moses, that's one of the things. You can't marry two sisters. It's illegal. And so when we think about, these things, the specifics that we find in dealing with sacrifices, the specifics that we find in terms of building structures to worship unto the Most High, there's things that was completely legal for those that followed after the Most High to do before Exodus chapter 20. And then we see after, those same things are things that you're not permitted to do. What I'm saying is that the heart of those on either side is both about bringing you into in terms of your conduct, those things which kind of mimic the Most High. And so when we look at Lot, we can say to a degree that you can think about it as being a relative righteousness to a degree, I'm saying, because again, we think about righteousness, we're always looking back to the standard of righteousness, which is, of course, manifesting the character of the Most High. And so he may not have had, all of the things together because all of the things didn't exist. However, the standard of righteousness that he knew of, it seems as if he was operating in that.
He had a moral compass.
Yes, he most certainly did.
19 verse 7. He says, "Do not so wickedly."
He understood the differentiation between righteousness and wickedness. There was a differentiation. He understood what that differentiation was. He knew what was righteous. He knew what was wicked.
Yeah.
You would think. Ellipses.
Well, he had some issues.
Right.
What we would consider to be major issues. But
Okay, let's continue. Let's keep on going here. So when we think about Lot, we think about his righteous soul, his righteous being, whatever level of righteousness we want to prescribe to him. How is someone so right able to live in the midst of this place that's so wicked that the Most High can't even stand for this place to even exist?
you have to leave, but we live in America, so I guess.
Is he like at the edge where he's not like in the middle, where it's really bad in the middle, but he's at the edge?
That's why he's at the gate.
Like at any moment he can flee.
He did get out of there.
Oh well, hesitantly, yes, he did get out of there. He didn't want to get out of there.
He's scared.
He had to be pushed a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. A little bit.
And so when we look, thinking about the idea of, righteousness, dwelling, living in the midst of all of this wickedness. Let's look over at, we just talk about Lot here, but we want to look at some things over here. Let's go over to Matthew. Look at Matthew 11. Matthew 11. Read for us. Start reading at verse Matthew 11. 15. Start reading at verse 15 here.
He who has ears to hear,
Hold
let
on,
him.
hold on 1 second. Let me just do something here. Okay, go ahead.
He who has ears to hear, let him hear. And to what shall I compare this generation? It is like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling to their companions and saying, "We played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We lamented to you, and you did not beat the breast." For Yohanan came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a demon. And the son of Adam came eating and drinking, and they say, "See, a man, a glutton and wine drinker, a friend of tax collectors and sinners." And wisdom was declared right by her works.
Okay, very good. So Yeshua here is speaking. Now, this is Yeshua speaking here. He's speaking of a time where things don't make sense. First of all, you see Yochanan, who is he's neither eating nor drinking. They say he's a demon. So what they want from him to do? They want him to eat and drink. Oh, well, the son of Adam is eating and drinking, and he's a man, a glutton and a wine bibber, and hangs out with tax collectors and sinners. This don't make any sense. What's he supposed to do? What's right? You're supposed to be eating or drinking or not eating and drinking, but you live in this place that is upside down. Doesn't make any sense. You have these children that are playing their flutes, and no one's paying any attention to them. No one's dancing to the music, right? And so from the perspective of the children, they're there, they're playing, but there's no response to the playing, right? And then you could think about righteous Lot. He's there, propagating his righteousness. He's playing his flute, but there's no one dancing. There's no one dancing.
What's the verse with the kids in the flute?
Matthew 11 and 17.
Matthew 11, 17.
Yes. The people were lamenting. They had these mourners. The people will mourn and wail. But there's no one doing it with them. Right? You have a way about you, but the natural response to the way that you have about you is not being reciprocated by those that are around you. But this is the atmosphere that Messiah is describing over here.
I mean, you would think since they felt a certain kind of way about Yochanan, they feel better about Yeshua when he came on the scene.
They should like Yeshua. If they're gonna say that
Yochanan
Yochanan, he didn't eat nor drink, and so they called him a demon. So they must want
there.
somebody who's eating and drinking. But then the person who comes around who is eating and drinking, and they're still not happy. Right? The thing that you are doing is not properly reciprocated by those that are around you. And so again, we look at Lot, he's living in this same situation. He's living in this same situation where the way of life that he is existing in is diametrically opposed to the way of life of everyone around him. But yet he still maintained that particular way about himself. It's interesting how Yeshua ends this, and wisdom was declared right by her works, or wisdom is justified of her children. At the end of the day, this is the way in which wisdom is able to be identified by the fruits of it, right? And so we see that dealing with the place, Sodom, the judgment was coming in Sodom's way. But Lot, righteous Lot, was spared. What do we have here in the comments here, Paul? Paul stated we can establish our own righteousness. One can establish one's own righteousness. And it seems like he's, as far as what I think about when Paul talks about us establishing our own righteousness, I feel like he describes it as the same way that it's described in the Tanakh as being like filthy rags. It's self-righteousness is nothing, right? Because when we think about our own selves, our hearts are wicked, right? The things that derive from us is, it's selfish. It's selfishness, right?
Can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now again, this is just supposition that because it seems like Lot was in a place of judgment, that maybe they saw that he was righteous, that he had a right ruling about himself. So they wanted him to be a judge. But then when he did judge, like in this situation, they're like, who's this foreigner, sojourner to judge us?
Yeah, it's all fun and games until it's something that's keeping them from
Indulging in
doing what
whatever
they're
they
trying
wanna
to do.
Yeah.
Which is it's a thought, because this is how people
How do you do it
behave.
without person back?
You might have an idea of a thing, but when you actually see what that idea looks like in reality, it's not always what you may have hoped for from the beginning. Go ahead.
I think you brought out a good point. I think you kind of breezed past it a little too fast when you said that, Israel looked for a man who wasn't like John, but yet when they got man that wasn't like John, they still wasn't happy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of speaks to those who are called to Father's assignment that, I think it probably really shakes up the man pleaser in an individual, always trying with the attempt to appease man. That text gives you no room for that. It basically says, look, you need to just do what Father called you to do and be about it, and just accept the fact that everybody is not going to be happy about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that the point here is just that if the Most High has a thing for you to be doing, the results necessarily aren't what you're looking for, but something that would be expected. You want to have the appropriate results to the thing that you're doing, but that can't be the thing that is driving you. The thing that's driving you is the fact that the Most High has you doing a particular thing. If he's moving you in a particular direction, you're not going to always know the why of it. If he wants you to be going forward, you might not understand why exactly, but what you do understand is that he's having for you to move forward in a particular direction. And so the outcome of that may not exactly be what you're looking for. Sometimes we don't get our desired results to a thing, and we might stop because of that. Meanwhile, the Most High might have you doing a thing for a whole other reason than what you think it is. And so the thinking about Matthew, if you're the children, play the flute. That's what you do. If you're the wailer, the mourner, mourn. If nobody's mourning with you, you're a mourner. So that's what you do. If you're a flute player, play the flute. That's what you do. And so
Your preacher preach.
that's what you do. And so Lot is over there doing what it is that he feels that he's supposed to be doing, even though from us looking at it, it looks quite peculiar because he's alone, he's by himself, and everything around him, he's not even just in a bad place, like he's in a terrible place that is so bad that the Most High can't even stand for the place to even be in existence anymore.
We gotta be shut down.
He's got to wipe it out, like it's so bad. Okay, read Luke 5:29 through 32.
29 through 32. And Levites made a great feast for him in his house. And there were a great number of tax collectors and others who sat down with them. And the Pharisees and their scribes grumbled against his taught ones, saying, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" And Yeshua answering said to them, "Those who are well do not need a physician, but those who are sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance."
Okay, very good. So we see over here, Yeshua speaking. We see that people have all these questions as to the associations of the master, but he has a particular assignment. He came for those that are sick and dying, and so from the outside looking in, it may look a particular way, but he's saying over here, if you all right, I didn't come for you. What do you need with me if you're well? I came for the one who is sick. If you ain't sick, you don't need a doctor. And so when we think about Lot, we're able to think about him in a particular way that is like unto us in this day and time, where everything around us is wickedness, but we can't allow for that wickedness to penetrate and to have influence over what we're doing. We have to be able to operate according to the way that the Most High have for us to be operating and be propagators of righteousness, irregardless of the things that are going on around us. We can't allow for our surroundings to be the thing that influence and to lead us and guide us, but be influenced from within, from the Ruach HaKodesh, from the power of the true and living Elohim. And so we can, we're able to look at Lot and get that picture. Whether he is the perfect picture of that is a whole other situation, but we're able to see the idea of he had a particular thing that he was supposed to be doing. And, from the surface, we see him doing that. He sees these men that they're coming into this place. He has a connection to them, and he tries to steer them away from harm. He tries to steer them away from wickedness because I don't believe that he knows exactly who these guests are initially. It's interesting when we look at Abraham, comparing Abraham who saw the same people, using the word people loosely here. He saw the same ones that Lot saw, but we're able to know that Abraham, had a spiritual discernment to understand that he was looking at these physical representations of men, but he was speaking to the Most High and his messengers. He had that understanding. It's not clear of what Lot was saying. He, as far as he's concerned, he's looking at men, these strangers, these men who are susceptible to harm. He feels like he's saving them from something, not knowing that these men are actually, initially not knowing that these men are actually coming to destroy the place. He just feels like, oh, these are some strangers. Let me step in and let me help these guys before they get into something that they're not ready for.
Right.
Go ahead.
Why they say no, but we'll abide in the street all night?
I know that sounds worse. Like
They
It
say
sounds
they
like-
we're not afraid. We want to be out in the open.
It's like
See what happens.
they don't understand. As far as Lot's understanding, you don't know what lurks out there in the darkness.
Right. What hood you from?
The freaks come out at night, and you want to sit up here and go out there in the night with those people?
Yeah.
Like Lot's probably like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Obviously, you ain't from around here. Obviously.
Yes, obviously. You have no idea
You need to
what goes on out in these streets. Come in here and sleep in here. Like it's crazy out there.
We do the same thing today. If we go to any major city, we go to any major city and they come to any major city, the same thing will go on to this day.
You're not in Kansas.
Yeah.
Better get in here.
Not out in the country.
Right.
Oh, one more thing. Let's go over to we want to go over transition over here. We're still talking about Lot. Let's look over in John really fast. 17. Read for us. We want 11 and then drop down to 14. John 17, verse 11, and then drop down to 14.
It says, "And I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you. Set apart, Father, guard them in your name, which you have given me, so that they might be one as we are."
14.
Yeah, 14. I have given them your word, and the world hated them, because they are not of the world, as I am not of the world.
Down to 19.
I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the wicked one. They are not of the world, as I am not of the world. Set them apart in your truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I also sent them into the world. And for them I shall set myself apart, so that they too might be set apart in truth.
Okay, very good. So it's interesting when we look at Yeshua, his actions, and then also this is Yeshua praying to the Father in regards to his disciples, as they are about to be without him physically, but he's going to come back to dwell with his taught ones through the Ruach HaKodesh. And so when we think about the example that we see with Messiah, he's able to be in these situations where he's in the minority because of the fact that he is filled with the Ruach HaKodesh without measure. He's able to be the only righteous one in the midst of nothing but wickedness and thrive because of the thing that's actually leading and guiding him. And so when we think about these things, it's also necessary to think about the idea of wisdom, because we must be able to operate in discretion, which is part of wisdom. We have to be able to know our limitations. We have to be able to understand our surroundings. This is all part of wisdom. And so when we think about Lot, and we think about what we see that happens with Lot, me looking at it, I feel that there's things that we see with Lot's situation where he falls short, right? He gives us the example in terms of, he has a particular assignment and he stays true to that particular assignment, but how well he operates in his assignment is a whole other situation. I think that now we're able to look at, we're able to look back at Lot, and now with a new variable in the equation, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, that we're able to add these things all together and be able to come up with another, a different, a better ending. Because there's, as I said, there's some things that we see with Lot, that really, they're troubling, in fact.
Like what?
We're definitely going to talk about it for sure. So when we look at, let's see, if we drop down, let's talk about first when we look at Lot's reaction to the men initially, where there's a similar thing that we see with Lot that we see with Abraham. Abraham saw these strangers that came, and the first thing he wants to do is he wants to accommodate them. He wants to help them. He wants to serve them, right? Lot saw them. If you go back to Genesis 19 and verse, let's see where he sees them at. Hold on one second. Oh, so I guess we're still in verse 1. He sees them, he raises up, he bows down, faces the ground. He wants to. Oh, verse 3, urges them strongly, don't go outside. He makes a feast for them. And so we see over here Lot operating here in, similar characteristics as his uncle, having this heart to serve. He's serving the people coming in, but to a degree, he's serving the greater community as being this beacon of light, of righteousness. And then, but also, when we think about the fact that when not only do we see Lot dealing with trying to save the people, there's also a connection to, I'm saying, the guests, the two that he's the messengers, the angels. He wants to save them, but it seems like he also still has some affinity, some connection to Sodom, because he doesn't want to leave. He don't want to leave his post. He don't want to leave his post. When we look over at 2 Peter, it talks about this great oppression that's against him as he's there. His soul's being tormented. But when he gets this opportunity, this chance to leave, He don't want to leave. In fact, he refuses to leave. He don't want to go.
And that's evil.
I'm not, he's righteous. I'm not telling him evil. He's righteous Lot. I'm not saying that he's evil at all. He's righteous Lot. I'm forced to look at Lot in a light that Peter told me to look at him in. I'm forced to do it. And so I'm saying what we see with Lot is an imperfect picture.
Right.
Is an imperfect picture. There's parts.
Some questionable things.
There's some questionable things. There's things that are missing from his situation. The thing that I want to deal with first is the fact that we can say that there's compassion that exists with Lot. Potentially. It's a potential reason why we would say that he doesn't want to leave his post. What's he doing there? He's operating in a position of being in the position of propagating righteousness, and so when we see that he has compassion for these men. He doesn't want for them to get involved with what's over there, what could potentially happen to them. He wants to stop that from happening. And so again, we talk about righteousness. We talk about understanding what righteousness is. We're dealing with the character of the Most High, who operates in compassion. And so when we see Lot, doing this same thing, we talk about this idea of relative righteousness. It might not be the exact standard that we know of as what righteousness is, but we're able to see compassion there. He has compassion for, at very least, these two angels. You can't stay here. Don't go in there. Stay here tonight and get out of here. But I want to look at real fast. We're definitely gonna get to the shortcomings of Lot, but I want to sandwich all this. We got to build him up. Before we
Tear him down.
no, we can't tear him all the way down. We can seek to understand him.
Is him tearing going to be on the list? Spoiler alert: is him tearing going to be on the list?
No.
Okay, I was like, I'm glad.
Lamentations 3. Let's see here. We're talking about the character of the Most High, something that we see exhibited through Lot in the idea of compassion. Read 21 through 23.
This I recall to my mind, therefore I wait. The loving commitments of Yahweh, for we have not been consumed. For his compassions have not ended. They are new every morning. Great is your trustworthiness.
Hold on a second. Sometimes you just gotta go to
King James. Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta look at what the KJV.
Not
is
at
saying.
Robert.
Read that again. Read that in.
It says, this I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. It is of Yahweh's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness.
Yes, very good. Okay, so when we think about the compassion of the Most High, it says here that it fails not. This is an interesting word for compassion, this thing that's the Most High. that's being credited to the Most High. Compassion 73. This word here, Raham, compassion in plural. By extension, the womb, as cherishing the fetus. I'm just gonna say, I, as a man, don't understand the idea of cherishing a fetus because I'm a man. Theoretically speaking, there's a baby coming. It's inside there. It came from me. This is a wonderful situation, right? But I can only assume. Maybe some of these women could chime in. I can only assume the connection that exists between the mother and the fetus. We're not even talking about the thing that comes out. You don't know what that thing is. It's inside of you and it's growing. It's a thing. It's a fetus. You don't know what it is, but you love it. You love that thing inside of you, that thing. Yes, it's a thing. You don't know what it is. It's a fetus. That's the point. You don't know what it is, but you have a love, a connection to that thing. And you want to only do well for that thing, right? If you're in your right mind, let's say. Right? Best case scenario, you want to love that thing. You want to continue to love it. You've never seen it before, right? But you know there's a thing in there. But this is the word that's being expressed to us to get us to understand the compassion of the Most High, where he has this desire for good for you. Let's look at Isaiah 54 and 8. We're talking about compassion because righteous Lot has compassion. Read verse 8 there.
In an overflow of wrath, I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting loving commitment, I shall have compassion on you, said Yahweh your Redeemer.
If the Most High, who deals in compassion, a little while I got some wrath for you, right? In a little wrath, I hid my face from thee for a moment. But the compassion is everlasting. So if the compassion is everlasting, even while the wrath is going on, there's compassion. You're gonna have to get some of this wrath. You're gonna have to get some. It's only gonna be for a moment, but you're getting it. But if the compassion is everlasting, you can't see an end to everlasting. And so there's compassion even going on when the wrath is coming. And so when we think about this idea, again, of the character of the Most High, which Lot we see is exhibiting, we can think about this when we think about back in Genesis, where it gets to the point where the people, the messengers, the angels, the guests speaking with Lot are saying, you need to get up out of here. You need to go. And Lot don't want to go.
Maury, was you gonna bring up Matthew 11:23?
I don't think so, but what does it say?
I'm gonna talk about the compassion.
Matthew 11. What's that say?
And thou, Capernaum, which are exalted under heaven, shall be brought down to hell. For if the mighty works which have been done in thee had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day.
That's the verse right there.
Well, then it says, but I say unto thee, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for thee. Just saying that
I guess
Messiah-
yeah, I guess when you think about what happened at Sodom, which in fact was total destruction. And comparatively speaking, there was a thing that is worse than that. Then maybe that is compassion because he held back. I say unto you that it shall be more tolerable for what happened to them. There's something worse when we're talking about the day of judgment. They got judgment, but it wasn't as bad as final judgment. I guess when you
But
think
I'm
about
saying that if they would have seen the works of the Messiah, they would have repented.
who,
So
So
they may have repented, depending on how wicked they was, I guess.
if it was, if the
Some
works
people
was
seen
done
some
right.
people seen him out there, and he was doing all types of things. He was raising people from the dead. He was making blind people see. He was making dumb people talk.
So
He's
Sodom,
making
I'm
deaf
saying if
people
Sodom saw
hear.
that, they would have repented based off of that.
You hope
If
they
the,
would.
if the mighty works, of
Somebody in their
done,
right mind would have repented. But I feel like the simple fact that there wasn't any righteous in there, like Abraham wanted for there to be with his whole haggling situation. I feel like the Most High was absolutely right in destroying them. There wasn't no redeeming qualities in that place. It don't matter what they would have saw. If there was, I feel like they would have been in the group. They would have been able to go a lot.
they would have been a field trip.
They would have left up out of it. But I feel like the simple fact that the Most High, in fact, destroyed all of them, that there were no redeeming qualities over there. Again, because I'm forced to look at the Most High in a particular way. He's righteous. He's just. He didn't destroy the potential for righteousness over there. He just destroyed wickedness that didn't have no potential for righteousness. It was a total wash. And so he destroyed them all. Okay, so let's go back over to Genesis. We want to talk about Lot some more, because that's what we're talking about. Righteous Lot. Let me just say that. Righteous Lot.
I think we was more wicked than them.
Right now.
Okay, so when we go down to let's go down to this image is a little bit much here. Read again for us 7 and 8.
Instead, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof.
Okay, so hold on one second. So when you think about what is happening over here, these men want for Abraham to give over these they want Lot to give over these men to him so that they can know him. This is it's terrible. This is terrible things that these people is trying to do. Lot is like, no, please don't do that wicked thing. But here's my 2 daughters. That wicked thing is terrible. What you talking about? There's no way I'm going to let you have these 2 men over here. It's unthinkable. But I have these 2 daughters over here. take them. And he said, do to them, he said, do to them as is good in your eyes.
We know they ain't had no good in their eyes.
They didn't have no good in their eyes. Or they might have some relative good in their eyes. To them, whatever they could have potentially thought about to them was good. He put it up in the air. Whatever you see fit, you can have them.
Free life.
But don't harm these men. For the reason, therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. Lot saying, I became the protector of these two men. So I'm saying this. I'm saying that Lot gives us a picture of righteousness to the point where he has a particular task that he took on, whether he was given or took it on. He stands fast in that task in terms of being the one who stands at the gate and turns people into righteousness. These two people came over. Now he's saying that they are under the shadow of his roof. He stands firm in that task. But before he had that task, he had the task of being a protector for his two daughters. And so he forsakes that duty for the sake of this other thing that he took, like he added onto himself. So he had a job that he was given just by simple fact of him being a father. He had a job to do already. That was his task. And then now this other situation comes on that he moves above his natural duty. I'm saying in that respect, he's falling off right there. And let's hear what you have to say about this.
I say the text shows us that he was already relieved from that task because they was married. So
Okay,
it was no longer his duty to protect him.
Very good.
It was the
I'm
husband's
glad.
duty now.
I'm glad that you brought that up. So now this only strengthens what I'm saying.
That's it.
Yes, absolutely. Because if that's the case, then he don't even have the right to offer that.
But
If it's at that point, he don't have the right to offer that. And so he's rolling the dice is what he's doing.
In my defense,
Mhm. Oh, it's your defense.
in my defense of Lot, he knew as a righteous man that
He's righteous.
their sons was so raggedy that they would not even stand up against him offering his daughters.
But what he didn't
Though they
know,
had the right.
what he didn't know is what would have happened. So even if you make the argument, which I wouldn't, even if you make the argument that these two daughters, because there's things you can say, well, did he have 4 daughters? There was 2 that was betrothed, because he definitely has sons-in-laws and daughters, and he took 2. So some might say he had 4 daughters. There was 2 that was betrothed, and there was 2 that wasn't.
Yeah, because it says they never knew a man.
Yeah,
These ones never knew a man,
what
but
are we
they
talking
could be betrothed and not know a man,
You
right?
can also
But let me
Go
say,
ahead, go ahead,
let
go
me
ahead.
say that you have these thoughts. But what I'm saying is that if you say that yes, these were 2 daughters that was betrothed, and then now he's giving them to potentially giving these 2 the wicked men, I'm saying that first of all, he don't have the right anymore because he gave away that right when he gave away his 2 daughters. But still, you're rolling the dice to say you said what you said. Take them, do whatever you want. They could have been to the point where they obviously was overcome with their own personal lust, where they couldn't care what you put in front of them. They was focused on that. But they could have just took him up on his offer. And so you're gonna just roll the dice then with your daughters and then not know. I'm saying from my perspective, I'm not doing that. And I don't see no rightness in it. And I don't expect for Lot to be perfect. He gives us the perfect picture in terms of being a light in the center of darkness, but from I think that's as far as it goes, because there's things that are missing, this being the most important in my eyes, because if you can't have your own house established, this is your first duty as a man before you go outside of that. And so it's his duty to deal with that first. So I'm saying that I'm not sure if it's the same daughters necessarily, for those reasons, is that if they're given away already, he don't even have the right to offer them, because they're already given to these men. And even if you did say that, he don't know what's gonna happen. They, thankfully, they didn't care about that. That wasn't I mean, you could say, well, he knew how wicked they was, that's not even their appetite. But now you just got idle speech. He just making this offer that they don't even want that.
But
They're
maybe
vegetarians and he's offering them meat.
But hold on, maybe in his righteousness, we're just
Yeah.
maybe in his righteousness,
It's
he's
divine
saying
wisdom.
he's
Okay.
trying to show them, like, it's better for you guys to have sex with women than to know men. So even in his example of showing them, even the offer wasn't vain speech. It was, hey, I'm trying to direct you the direction towards these two young virgins who know no man. I would rather you fornicate with these guys, these women, than to choose that.
I mean, but it's a mob. It's not like it's like, it's
You
like-
made it a mob in your mind. The text said it was men. We don't have a
They
number.
broke the door down.
It only takes two people to do that.
If it's a door, it might have just been a tent. They forced their way in.
Well, let me add two. You just going one verse up. Well, what verse are we at? Making sure.
8.
Oh, we're at 8. Well, I'm going back up to verse 6 and the middle verse. And he said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. So just those men even approaching that, like, to come up and, yeah, we want to take these men, even though he know the wickedness that's going on around there. He trying to avert that level of, what's in the Torah, you supposed to put to death for this act, right? For a man with man, woman with woman, both of them should be put to death.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a show forth. I can't fault Lot for being like, look, these men come up and, especially on his grounds, on his, on his property or whatever, like, I can't fault Lot. That's what I'm just saying. Like, I'm on Lot's because I mean, where's the details?
He's
Where's the
righteous-
details
he's
that?
righteous Lot. He is righteous.
Yeah, where's the details of the situation with all the daughters? Like,
I think
we
the
gotta.
question. I think the question just becomes: he's trying to prevent sin. He's trying to prevent sin, but at what cost?
Yes.
Is there like a cost? Like, is there like a thing? Like, I'm trying to stop sin, but the way in which I'm trying to prevent sin is by
So what's the other
another
option?
sin.
What's
Yeah,
the other
but it's a
option?
lesser evil. Like,
I'm not sure what the option is.
Then it's
but
war.
I
It's
don't
come
know.
out with whatever you got and go
I
put
guess.
yourself to death against a mob. That's
Yeah.
literally what the issue.
Yeah.
What he would have had to face
it's a
other than
lesser
that.
evil.
Well,
Is it
obviously,
a
he didn't
lesser
have to do any of that because the men were able to defend themselves.
I know, but at this point,
Did he know that?
At this point, you don't
He
know
don't
that.
know
yet.
that.
Yeah,
You
did
know
he
that.
know that?
You don't know that yet.
Well,
He don't know.
Because
He
if
don't
you
know
read
their
further
strength yet.
on. Then they do their part.
He still
He didn't
feel
know
like
that.
he's stepping in at this point. Like,
Yeah.
he don't know.
Yeah.
Like, if he knows, he don't even gotta say that.
Right.
If he knew,
He was like, yo, guys, handle this. Take care of the light work.
But my only question just becomes like, you know, right or wrong, whatever you want. I have my thoughts on it. I think he's dead wrong in my thoughts. But I'm just saying, in general, what lengths do we take to prevent sin? Because in my eyes, what he's doing is he's offering sin to prevent sin.
Is he offering sin to prevent sin? Because we could really paint this correct.
Yeah, hold on. How is he doing that?
Well, okay, so if we say, I'm saying if, okay, in order to go along with the idea that these are daughters that are the betrothed daughters, we know that he has betrothed daughters, and we know that he takes daughters that haven't known man.
Now that's the part I need clear.
And so the thing is that did he only ever have $2 or were there 4 daughters?
Right.
And so if we say that if these 2 daughters were betrothed to men already, you betrothed is marriage. And so they're married already, but they didn't go to the seal, and they didn't seal the deal, but they're married. And so if to be with a betrothed woman that's not betrothed to you is a sin. It's a sin according to the Torah, though, because we don't have the Torah yet.
Nope. No Torah.
Right.
And so technically, it could be that that's okay at this point until you all the way seal it. It's free game.
Hold on.
This is all conjecture. I don't know what.
Yes.
Well, I don't know.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that according to the Torah,
Yeah, that he's wrong.
that's illegal.
Right.
Right. And so you can't have no foundation and try to prove a point when you just eliminated your foundation. Like
Right.
the measuring stick that you're using to measure his righteousness is no measuring stick at all.
Well,
Did he know? Did he know the betrothal thing?
yes.
Was that established
Exactly. So
Oh,
in
the-
this
the-
time?
you just debunked
Well,
your own argument.
What I'm saying. What I'm saying is that for that, I don't use that. I don't use that argument. I'm saying that it's his duty to protect his daughters. I'm
Okay.
saying
Yeah.
I'm saying he's out of line by offering them in any measure. And so that's what I'm saying. But this
I understand.
other side is that people come up with and say that there was 4 daughters and 2 of them were betrothed. I'm saying if you go from that perspective, still from a standpoint of just a principle, they belong. If it's not codified Torah, they belong to someone already. And so you taking somebody's property already and giving it to somebody else. I'm saying from a principle standpoint is wrong. But that's not my argument. My argument is that those are his daughters. I'm not giving my daughters in any situation to
Maybe
these
he
wicked
offered.
people.
Maybe he offered them sarcastically as a like
I don't play those games.
If they say okay, then it's like they called your bluff.
I'm just saying
I'm
to
saying
teach you
always
that you
to
should
that.
have these daughters instead of these men. Yeah, we want them. Go ahead, bring them out. No, I was just saying. I didn't mean it, like literally.
All I'm saying is it seems consistent with all of the early, pioneers that they all had a little bit of
Yeah, they did a little
situation.
something.
You know what I'm saying?
Abraham
Abraham,
did his thing with Sarah.
Santa was his daughter.
Yeah,
gave her
he
the-
did it.
I'm not his daughter, his sister.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was always a little something, and I think, that's why you need the Torah to come, so you can have strict, this is acceptable and this is not.
We're not dealing with superheroes. These people
Right. They were
are
here.
human beings
Yes.
and they're flawed. I think that it's enough for me. It's enough to look at a lot and see that he had a position and he stood by his position.
I think he meant right though.
He didn't operate in it perfectly,
Right.
but he stood in
He did
his
wrong.
position. He stood his ground
He
at
did.
the gate,
He did.
but by potentially giving away his daughters or no.
Man,
He
Lot
stood
was on
his
it.
position was I'm
Lot was
manifesting
up.
righteousness over here at any cost. If whatever. Like
And we also gotta remember and consider he lived in Sodom and Gomorrah.
oh my goodness. I think that
Come on now.
I think that
He lived in Sodom and Gomorrah, and he prayed to the Most High and said, "If there's two people, if there's and just his family, come on."
I
now.
think that
I got a lot.
I think that when we drop down and look at read again 15 and 16, because the idea of where he was, I think, is another component.
Did you see the comment?
No, I didn't. Oh, Shula's saying what? Choose the lesser of two evils. Well, I mean, but he's presenting the evil though. Like there's an evil being offered, and then he offers another evil. So, if you're gonna say that that's the lesser of two evils, but you're the one who you added the evil to the game.
So the Most High sent angels to the evil person.
Nope, he's righteous. He's
I'm
righteous.
just saying.
He's righteous a lot.
You gonna stand by that racist lie?
Let's look at some of these comments here. That's an interesting perspective. Knowing their messages of Elohim reminds me of what's Psalm 14. Luke 14:26. I don't know what that says.
14.
Luke 14:26.
Yeah.
This was in the comments.
Yeah.
It says, "If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple."
That's
I hear you.
verse.
I hear you, sis. I hear what you saying. And we talking about these. This is what Yeshua said. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure that this.
Take that over there.
I don't know if it's that exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think he knows that it's angels
if he's,
at this point.
I don't think he knows that it's angels. And I'm saying if you was to make the argument that he is giving up on his daughters and ready to give them over unto wickedness, then he's able to deny them for
Leaving.
his father's sake.
I
Like
think,
you're able
those
to.
little wicked little girls.
I know, but we
wasn't
don't
even
know that.
pure.
We don't know that though at this point. Like we don't know that. Like as we're just reading down, we don't know that at this point. All we see is that he has these
little
daughters
things.
and he's ready to give them up. If you say that this is something that applies, you have to already have had it in your mind that these are wicked daughters, and I don't care what happens to them.
Well, this text doesn't say that your wife, brothers, and sisters need to be wicked. Okay, but it does say that you have to make a sacrifice for the sake of the gospel and take up your suffering. Now, did Lot know that he was sacrificing his daughters for the sake of the gospel? And the answer would be no.
I don't know that because
What gospel was that?
at this point, he is the beacon, the guardian of righteousness over here. That's what we see. He sees men coming. He knows wickedness is on the other side. He's the buffer of these men getting sucked into all of the wickedness that's over there. So his gospel at this point is
Protect the stranger.
is protect the stranger.
Gotcha.
And so it's not the gospel of Messiah,
Right.
But it's his good news is
Protect the stranger.
I'm righteous. I walk in righteousness. I manifest righteousness, and there's none but wickedness over there.
Good argument.
But let's go back over to Genesis in 19.
Should you want to go to 15?
Verse Oh my cursor's frozen.
Uh-oh.
My
Uh-oh.
cursor's.
We got frozen over there.
Hold on a second.
There you go.
It's working now.
Okay.
Glad you got that Apple Care.
What does that mean?
That's a new Mac
That's
right
warranty.
there. I'm like,
Warranty.
you know, for not be freezing up.
All right, read again for us. Read again for us 15 through 18.
2012.
15 through 18. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid a hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, Yahweh being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, Elohim.
Oh, my Lord,
My
my
Lord.
master.
My master. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so I didn't know what you were talking about before. So I guess I was talking about him tearing, because this is the question here is, what is he so hesitant about?
Oh, so tearing is a red flag.
I don't know why he's hesitant. Why is he hesitant?
I got a good defense for that one.
If we is he hesitant because of the people? Is he hesitant because of his duty? Is he hesitant because of normalcy? What is the hesitancy of him leaving this place when he's finding out that these 2 messengers are trying to get him to leave? Why don't he want to leave? What's he so hesitant about?
Let me paint the picture a little bit better, right? Sodom is scheduled for destruction. It's scheduled for demolition.
Right? Hit the delete button. Yes.
And he, being righteous Lot,
Here we go.
is staying there and not wanting to go. So why in the world, the place has to be so bad to where it's about to be destroyed by the Most High, right? It got to be so bad. How can you even beat it? Like, I'm feeling my legs are feeling anxious to leave America because of how wicked it's getting, right? Lot is scheduled for destruction, like the same day. Like, they're there scheduled for destruction, and he's hesitant, not wanting to go. It's like, why hasn't he been left Sodom?
Can I paint a juxtaposition picture to Elder's picture?
Go ahead.
You're in a congregation.
Mhm.
The church is scheduled to be destroyed. But your grandma went to this church, your grandpa went to this church,
Yeah.
you have family in this church. We've been here for all these years, and you know they're wrong, but I still believe.
Mhm.
I still believe they could change.
These people crazy. I gotta get out of here.
And so, righteous Lot, I know I got a work to do. I'm gonna stand firm on righteousness, that I'm gonna change these people.
He thought he was standing in the gap. And to a certain extent, he probably was, because if Lot was in the city, it wasn't going to be destroyed.
But let me.
Lot gets out the city and then it gets destroyed.
I don't know the answer. I'm just gonna throw it out here. I'm not trying to destroy my own argument like you did.
But he loves destroying arguments.
but-
He don't even care. It could be his own argument.
Right.
Against,
If Lot's willing to stand in the gap for Sodom,
uh-huh.
then why would you throw your daughters out? Why would you stand in the gap for your daughters?
Yes.
That's weird.
He stood in the gap for the
That's what I'm
wicked.
saying. There's some
So,
disconnect.
so for me, this is what I'm saying is that this is what I'm saying
This Lot wasn't
about
righteous.
righteous Lot is this don't mean perfect Lot.
Right.
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 Lot had imperfections, and we see his imperfections. He's
Right.
not perfect.
Exactly.
He lived to a particular standard the best way that he knew how to do it. And I think that that's what we need to gain from Lot,
Right.
from righteous Lot.
Right.
There's things that we see here that we're able to now hindsight look at and say, what in the whole entire world are you doing? Like,
Right.
what's going on over here?
Mhm.
But again, Lot is a human being. He is not a superhero.
Right.
And so when we look over here and we see that he's hesitant, he's already, I don't know that we know exactly if he knew that the men put their hand out and caused them to be blind.
Mhm.
Because at that point, it seems like, these guys is able to take care of themselves. At that point, he should have known. We know it reading the text, but as far as we know, he could have just thought that they was able to close the door, and for whatever reason, the people decided to not try to come in anymore. So it's like we have a picture of what's going on that could potentially be fuller than what he's seeing in the moment. But at the same time, it's like, as you bring up, which is a good point, that we get in these situations that the Most High even puts us in these situations. But when it's time to go, it might take a little more pushing to be able to really understand that it's indeed time to go. If this ain't the Most High saying it's time to go, I don't know what is. But because of his connection to, I think it's all the things I mentioned, his connection to this place, his connection to his position, his connection to the status quo, his connection to his duty. It's not always so easy for you to actually do the thing that you're supposed to be doing because of all of those things. But we see, looking at Lot, it should help us to understand that, we have to be able to know what it is that the Most High is doing. And when he says it's time to go, we have to be able to hear that he's saying that and go. Because the Most High is obviously saying it's time to go. And he's like, well, wait a second. I still got this to go. I still got this thing over here. There was this one guy that I was dealing with, and I feel like he's so close to leaving from this wickedness, but the Most High saying it's time to go. Right. It don't matter what connections that he had over there. It don't matter what potential existed over there. At this point, the Most High saying it's time to go. And so he's supposed to just be going at this point. And so I think that, again, when we look at these things over in the Torah, these people don't have to be perfect at this point for us to gain the knowledge that's presented here for us. We can see Lot's imperfections and know the right way to carry these things out. He needed here just to say, okay. He needed to just say right here, you lead and I'll follow. That's what he was supposed to say. But we see that hesitation. We see that faithlessness.
Did he have the Holy Spirit though?
Well, to the degree that we understand it, no. To the degree that we understand it, no. I feel like when you think about his level of spiritual discernment, again, I brought this up. His level of spiritual discernment I'm saying, is lower than Abraham, because Abraham knew what he was looking at.
Yeah.
He saw them from afar off.
Yeah, I stayed away from
That's the Most High. Right. That's the Most High over there. He ran to them to meet them under the tree. He ran to them from afar off. He had a spiritual level of discernment to know the Most High is coming to deal with him. They was already all the way up into his situation. Lot, I'm saying. And it takes basically for them to get out and fire and brimstone to rain down for him to understand the severity of what was going on and who he was dealing with. And so I'm saying his level of spiritual discernment wasn't where it was supposed to be, which helps you to be able to understand what's going on. Like you can't fault him for this. And Peter don't fault him. He calls him righteous lie. This don't make him unrighteous. He's righteous lie. But what it does do is show you the levels where you're able to see, through the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, what this actually looks like. We can't be attached and so enthralled in this thing that the Most High has called for us to be doing, when the Most High is telling you that it's not time to be doing that anymore. Like it was so caught up in what he was doing, his whole situation over there, that he wasn't ready to go. So he tarried.
He's a little weak.
I mean, but he was righteous lot though. I don't want to get too heavy on
It
it.
just-
I mean,
it just
there
seemed
was
like he's
weaknesses.
too
There was
scared.
chinks.
He's too scared
There
to
was chinks in
leave.
his army. But the thing is that
Like
it's just-
his little
but he
tiny
was
place
human.
over
If
there.
it,
I'm about to say.
Why did he say, "Can I go with Abraham?" Like, I learned my lesson. I picked the wrong place to go.
I think
Let me
he
go back
liked.
to
I think
Abraham.
he loved the place he picked. I mean, I think he saw this place and was like, "Oh man, I could set up a little."
I mean, that's why he went there. Right?
yeah, right. And I think he was attached to this place,
Yeah.
and I think he was, putting on blinders to what all was going on. He knew what it was. Like, oh no, you can't stay out here at night. You know what I mean? Like he knows all this, but he's still there, like trenched in,
Yeah.
and don't want to go.
Yeah.
They had to snatch him up. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
You
grab
know?
him by the hand. They brought him outside.
So I think
Escape for your life. It's like it's not even like hinted at.
right.
They took him by the hand. They brought him outside. Run for your life. And don't look behind you. Don't stay anywhere till you get to the place that you're going. And then even in his leaving, he's like, well, I know I can't make it that far. Let me just go over to this Sowar place. I can't even make it as far as you're saying. I'm gonna leave, but I can't even go the distance that you're saying. Like, it's just there was a lot of connection, which is understandable. There's a lot of connection to his former reality. And here it is that the Most High is saying for him to, here's this new place that I'm sending you to. And there was this hesitation. But and this is normal. I'm someone who's left my normality. And I understand the idea of being connected to a situation and what it actually takes to make that separation. And from a physical standpoint, it's a hard thing to do from a physical standpoint. But there's times that things become necessary for you to do what the Most High is actually calling for you to do. It's not always the comfortable thing to do. And we see here for Lot, this was certainly an uncomfortable thing that he had to do, but he had to do it.
I can attest to that because, in 1995, when the Most High opened up the door for me to do what my dream was, but, it wasn't going to be the dream I thought it was. It was the Most High had something else in plans. But it was the hardest thing I ever did to leave Pittsburgh and go to California. It was the hardest thing to literally uproot myself to go into a place I didn't know, and all my friends and all the wickedness, all of that I was entrenched in it. And but it was a great opportunity, but it was the hardest thing in my life to leave.
Right, because it's normalcy. It's
But that was
and
a
you're
righteous
going
lie, though.
and you're going into you're going into the unknown, and the unknown is scary because it's just that it is the unknown. But the same thing, it's almost like we see the same lesson with Lot that we see with Abraham, where the Most High pushes them both into the unknown and calls for both of them to be able to have a level of trust in the Most High and not in what they're able to see with their eyes.
Absolutely.
And so, this is something that we're able to learn from in our own selves, is that the Most High is in fact going to take us to places that we've never been before. But just because you've never been there, don't mean that you're not supposed to be there. And it can't be about I don't know what's over there, so I'm not going. Because we have to be able to trust. This is what faith looks like. Faith looks like moving into the unknown. You don't always know what the destination is like, but you just got to put one foot in front of the other and go. And so, yes, you think about the idea of, people and being attached to family, or whatever family situation, circumstances, normality. All of these things are things that we attach ourselves to. But, the Most High has to be first and foremost in our lives and be the thing that directs, every action that we take.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. What can we take and learn from Lot's story of righteousness? Imperfections don't disqualify us from redemption and deliverance. Exactly. Like if we had to depend on our own righteousness, our own physical ability to be able to do this or that, we'd in fact be disqualified. But we have to trust in the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, that leads us and guides us into all truth, and know that when we trust in the Spirit of the Most High, He's going to lead us in the direction that He would have for us to be going. All right, let's deal with the ending of this over here, which I would say is the last thing that we see dealing with Lot, that just shows that how we even started talking about the righteousness of Lot, that it potentially was a thing that was a relative righteousness. Because when we look at the action of his two daughters, the actions of his two daughters, why did his daughters feel that this was the answer to? Well, first of all, was there even a problem? Like this is, I feel like this is a problem that was created in their own minds. Was this even a problem? I feel like they created a problem. This is I know somebody who does these types of things. They create problems, and then they seek out the solutions to the problems that they created.
I think when you're around wickedness for so long, a little bit starts to rub off on you.
Yeah.
And I think that them being in that place for so long and seeing so much, I think their judgments weren't, in the right place.
Yeah. And when you think about the times in which they live, like now, for instance, we live in the time that we live in. It's like our surroundings. It's like they penetrate our situation, like I would say at a far greater kind of weight than what it would be in those times where you deal with, the way that these people live. They live wherever they live in their situation. And then from time to time have to go to the marketplace and get whatever they have to get and come back and whatever. But you're more in a kind of a isolated situation to a degree where unless you're doing commerce, you're not really dealing with the outside world. And so there's a potential for influence, but it wouldn't be as strong necessarily as what we have, where the influence bombards us from every angle, at where we are now. Like I'm saying, there's obviously an influence that was there, but it seems like our influence is even worse. But I'm saying all that just to say that when you look at their actions, it seems like it's so obvious that they came to these conclusions that they came to based on this influence. It's basically the same thing that the people let us know. These people, their solution to this supposed problem that I feel like they created was for them to, if we go up here and live up in this place, it's like they're going to become extinct. The only way to preserve the seed of their father is to lay with their father.
Are we surprised Eve was the first one to disobey the Most High? What do we
I think.
Why wouldn't they leave? Leave literally a community or however big Sodom and Gomorrah was. The great destruction. Don't even turn around and look at it. You go up in a cave. You're a young woman, and you don't know how long you're gonna be there, or this or that. Lot was the righteous one, and the Most High covered his whole family because of his ways and righteousness. Didn't say his daughters was righteous.
It didn't say he was righteous, but what I'm saying is that bringing out his level of righteousness was relative, because I'm saying that him walking in perfect righteousness creates a bigger bubble around his family. And so I feel like their actions can only be a reflection of him. And so I'm saying that for them, their greatest influence wasn't their father. Their greatest influence was outside.
Well, maybe maybe the act of his daughters is the judgment of him offering his daughters to those wicked people. How do you know that that's not? Because he shouldn't have did that, as you was arguing. He should have held strong for his family, but it comes back on him in this form, as he shouldn't have did that.
That's right. That's what I think.
And his daughters jumped to this conclusion and followed through with what they followed through with.
I never thought of it that way before. I mean, it's an interesting thought, and I think that when you look at it, it's obvious judgment, because as far as he's concerned, like he's totally oblivious to it.
Right.
Like he don't even know. It's like he don't know what he don't even know what's going on in either case.
Those close.
So it's like the things that are falling on him. It's almost as if it's judgment on him, because he's not intentionally involved in the action of it.
Exactly.
And so, to me, when I look at it, I think about the fact that the things that's built into the Torah for us in terms of, it's just as important it's just as important for us to learn of the ways of the Most High as it is for us to teach the ways of the Most High to our children. Like it's equal footing. The same way that we're supposed to be in terms of striving for righteousness' sakes towards the Most High, that with that same vigor, with that same strength that we strive towards the Most High, we are to be teaching our children with that same energy. That same energy that you using to draw close to the Almighty, you take that same energy and bring your children along with you. And when you don't, you deal with things like this, where you have judgment now coming back on you because there was these chinks in your armor. He's righteous Lot. This is what he's described to us as. But he wasn't perfect. But we're able to see his imperfections, and we're able to look and add to his imperfections to help for us to be able to be better.
I mean, it seemed like he took Sodom with him when he left.
I mean, based on the way that they acted, that's absolutely what
He
happened.
took sexual immorality.
And it was like, it wasn't even like
He took it.
He took them wicked little daughters of his out. They call the daughters righteous.
no, they didn't call them righteous.
Ridiculous little things.
They didn't call them righteous. But I think the issue just is that as men, as fathers, your children are a reflection of you. Your children are a reflection of you. And so, they have their own lives. They grow into their own people. But they don't even still, they carry your name, right? They are representatives of you. And so, we have to be able to be and teach our children the ways that they should go, so that they're able to function in a way that is right in the eyes of the Most High. That's part of the Torah, to impart the laws into them, to literally penetrate your children with the law. And I think that just kind of in closing, when we think about how this story ends, that it helps for us to understand to be able to have the proper balance in things, because we see that the Most High did in fact have a task for Lot, but which was to stand in the gap for righteousness' sake. But we have to be able to not kind of pull away from our duties, that our duties as men, to bring along with us our family first and foremost, because you have the wife that she didn't even make it out of there, and you have the daughters who you could say that they didn't make it out of there because they brought that wickedness along with them. And so, when we look at Lot and we see that although he was called righteous, it helps for us to see that we need the Ruach HaKodesh to lead us and guide us, and to cause for us to be able to walk in wholeness and maturity in all things. All right. So, does anybody have any last thoughts, questions, comments before we go ahead and close out here?
Yeah, if it's getting too wicked where you're at, get out of there.
yeah.
You need to go there.
Yeah, because it's definitely bad. It's getting bad out here. All right. So with that being said, for now, we're going to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Y'all will next week we'll be back again. All right. Shalom.